author April J. Ford. Take it away, April.
Thank you again, Tom Cunningham. I want to express my gratitude for allowing me to host a few of the shows here on Journey to Success. Again, it's always my pleasure to share this platform as we interview people who are making a difference in the world to help encourage and inspire others to do the same. So, again, our focus today is on Napoleon Hill's 17 Principles of Applied Faith, as you mentioned. And our guest today is Bernie Dorman. And I'm so honored to introduce him. Actually, it was just last year, I think it was at the Think and Grow Rich Summit where we first met. Bernie Dorman is an internationally recognized capital strategist, revenue accelerator, and economic innovator. He is the founder and chairman of CEO Space International, the world's leading small business incubator, having touched over 300,000 business owners in more than 100 countries. Under Dorman's leadership, CEO Space has grown into a mega week-long conference that services hundreds to thousands of small business owners at each conference 5 times a year, utilizing proprietary networking and teaching techniques that accelerates attendees' abilities to grow their business through capital raising strategies, business growth intensives, and demonstrating the power of collaboration. Dorman is one of the early adopters and prominent practitioners of cooperative capitalism, a belief system he's helped to mold which focuses on highlighting the most positive aspects of capitalism, eliminating the hyper-emphasis on competitive nature of it, and infusing a social conscious approach in developing economic systems. Recently, Dorman has become very active in shaping legislation through the Jobs Act, specifically looking at crowdfunding for small businesses. Another passion for Dorman is education. He is the inventor of super teaching, which debuted at CEO Space International and is now being utilized in public schools. Dorman is known as the coach of coaches, advising CEOs in the largest industries, heads of state, and celebrity thought leaders with relationships over the last 20 years that have included Jack Canfield of Chicken Soup, Bob Proctor and Lisa Nichols, stars of The Secret, John Gray from Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus, renowned international speaker Les Brown, and many other celebrities and advisors and coaches. Mr. Dorman operated for many years as the chairman of a publicly traded investment banking firm conducting billions of dollars of business in over 14 countries. He is the author of several books, and a key influence on his life was his father, Alan Dorman, a renowned curriculum developer who worked with the likes of Walt Disney and Napoleon Hill. From his father's life, Dorman learned that if you can dream it, then you can do it. Wow, now that's a well-accomplished bio, Mr. Dorman. Welcome to the show today, Journey to Success. How are you?
Well, I'm glad to be here, and of course I'm one of the guests that is a growing dinosaur group where I actually knew Napoleon Hill, sat on his lap and kind of was raised by the mentor, and although he was there for my father's collaborations, he did a lot with the children, and I always treasure the ability to have lived inside his work up close and personal, so I hope I can help those that are listening, you today, to really get applied faith as Napoleon Hill intended it. And I recommend supplemental reading, Outwitting the Devil, by Sharon Lechter, who wrote Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and Napoleon Hill. She annotates what Napoleon Hill had locked up for 70 years.
Right.
And I think it's the most important reading in my life in the last 20. And it completes, it's the keys to Think and Grow Rich. So when you're reading Think and Grow Rich, go out and get by Napoleon Hill, Outwitting the Devil, and you'll see how to remove that self-sabotage where you take one step forward and it kind of goes back, and you can't quite think and be rich.
Right,
So I think
grow
with
rich and be
cookbooks,
rich.
you'll be able to think and be rich, not just trying to always grow into it.
Okay. Now, before we get into Hill's work, tell us what was it like? You had the privilege at a very young age to actually, like you said, grow up around Napoleon Hill himself. What was that like?
Well, most of it, I mean, in my younger years, it was around a barbecue pit where my dad kind of held court in our home in the Marin County, San Francisco Bay Area. But in later years, there was a mind retreat for all the thought leaders, Clement Stone, Bucky Fuller, the people that were making a difference in the world. Everyone was there. Werner Erhard of S and Landmark, John Henley of LifeSpring, Tom Wilhite of SciWorld, the great human potential company still operating. I mean, enormous footprints, millions served. And they would meet in this library on this desk that Napoleon Hill wrote on. That desk is still there in that library at High Valley Ranch in Clear Lake, California. And I grew up there. I mean, Zig Ziglar started his career there when he was 20. His first public speaking ever. Earl Nightingale got his big first contract there and became really famous through that. And they all were at the feet of Napoleon Hill in that process. And so it was a time when the human potential industry was being born, and the thought leaders were coming, partly because the most known were trained by my father, and he wrote course material for them. And, you know, Napoleon Hill and Dad were trying to change the world, and they did.
Now, at what age were you able to recognize that you were just basically surrounded by greatness? Did you realize that at a young age?
I really have to tell you that when you're 7 and 9 and Uncle Nappy, Napoleon Hill, and you don't know about thinking we're rich until you're in your teens, and you really didn't get it until you were 30 or so. So I did get to thank him before he went for being a great mentor, but I really didn't understand the depth of it until after he was gone. You know, I mean, of not the book and all of that, but what the private little things that he gave us along the way that shape you. I don't know that any of us recognize our mentors in the early shaping stage as with as much gratitude as we do later in our adulthood when we have children and we're mentoring, and then you know, reach back in your Santa Claus sack and say, thank you, Uncle Nappy, for what you left for me.
Right. So let's jump into his work. And again, today's emphasis is on applied faith. And according to Hill's work, his definition of faith is basically it's your state of mind, right? It's your awareness, your belief, and harmonizing it with powers. It goes
deeper than that, and I'll tell you what he meant behind the book phrase, because we went through all of those in person. What he meant was two parts. At first, he believed in religious faith. So he believed that you would take your higher power, whatever that is, and he didn't care what your faith. He cared that you put a pledge into the other side to go ahead of you and prepare the ground for the roses you were going to plant financially, and that it would be made manifest. He also was agnostic, and that was the gospel of St. Thomas. He believed that God is not out there, but is in you. You are made in the image and likeness of a divine creator. You can create. That's how you're made in the image and likeness is not two nose holes. He used to say, the Lord God does not pick his nose. You are orbs of light, impossibly powerful. You can command mountains to move. Of course you can change the world. Of course. But he was always telling you, come from the perspective that you want to serve a maximum number of people. It's not about trying to attract wealth. It's about the law of accumulation, not the law of attraction. So the law of attraction works, but we're not in the law of acquisition. Very important difference. Acquisition is where we're attached to money, fond of money. Money's important to us. He wanted money to be the law of accumulation, that your passion, as you know, is defined as sacrifice.
Right.
You would put everything into it. You can't do that unless you have faith. You have to have faith, real faith, that your manifestations are going to occur and that they're going to occur by your divine authority from the other side, and find your own way of connecting to to that higher power. He wanted you to meditate, which in those terms and days was visualization. He wanted you to be quiet, to still your mind, and to project forward that everything you wanted had come true. It was like your vision board in your mind.
Right.
He wanted you to see and create that vision so much in detail and do it every day, to see it and to know that was your entitlement and your right. You had no fear it wasn't going to occur. You had absolute faith it was going to be provided for you. And, of course, he told you to do the work that you had to do along the way, but in the work, the faith was always what drove you. And, Lisa Nichols, the famous celebrity, and she has a film on her website, ceospace.net. You can all see it. And so when I say these things, she will tell you herself. Lisa Nichols was developed by CEO Space into these principles. She didn't have these principles. She didn't have Think and Grow Rich. And she wrote the book, a national New York Times international bestseller, No Matter What. And it's the perfect book for this show. When you want to practice faith, go get her book and see this little girl who grew up in Watts, being chased by broken bottles and threatened with gang rape almost every day going to school, and then works in a charity that is pretty depressing, that's trying to take moms who have 6 kids out of danger zone in Watts in inner city LA by sundown, and for one night make sure in this charity they had a warm bed and a meal, but that night they were off the streets, and did that for years. And to think that she would leave all that and become the leading top positive motivational trainer.
Speaker, right.
And she trains you. I just went public. I just bought my own office building. I was a little girl in Watts. If you can dream it, you can do it. And you have to have faith in it no matter what.
No matter what. Now, why do you...
mindset Napoleon Hill was trying to build your faith around. So read the book, No Matter What. Read Great Reach. Read Deep from Gold, where all these billionaires almost stopped 3 feet from gold. You know, Ford, who was interviewed and a very close friend of Napoleon Hill's, trained him and told him, Henry Ford, that I went bankrupt multiple times. I was in court, and the people were suing me from the first investors, saying that I owed them now that I was successful. And I told them in court that I didn't owe them and that I was not beholden to them because they had contracted and invested early and we lost, and later I won. And they wouldn't invest then. They told everybody I was a crook. They told everybody they had lost their money. They told everybody I was horrible. They made it harder for me. Now they want all the rewards. The people that invested in that final time over all that bad press, they're getting the rewards. Because with Ford Motor Company, my idea was always perfect. It came from God, having everybody in these low-cost ways to get off a horse and get in a motor carriage, a horseless carriage. I was always right about that. But my plan was not as perfect as God's idea.
Right, and we're not
perfect. Created the phrase with Napoleon Hill that your idea is perfect, it came from God, and your plan soon will be.
Well, let's go back to when you're talking about Lisa Nichols. Why do you think that for some people it may be more natural to accept, not only accept, but like Napoleon said, it's 2 parts, accepting and knowing the faith, but also taking action and applying the faith? Why do you think it comes easily to some people? It's more natural to recognize faith.
It didn't come easy to Lisa. She tells you that. She was crying and saying, I can't do this. She didn't have faith. She says in the film, you believed in me when I did not believe in myself. What you need is a mentor. And that's the mastermind principle that he also teaches. You have to have a mentor who believes in you more than you do. And that helps you get that no matter what mindset, that no matter what faith. And she tells you in her book what her journey is. And look at you. What's your authority to be on this show? You're a young woman, you have 2 gorgeous children, and you're at the top of the food chain in Intel, in marketing. Every woman would like to be there in that 6-figure, cushy job. You lose your husband at this early age, so suddenly your best friend leaves you. He's gone. I don't mean he left her. I mean he died. And she's sitting there as a young widower. I mean, impossible at that age, raising the kids in her grief with this great job. What does she do? She quits the job with no husband to help her, alone on her own to do what? Do her dream. And I mean, April Ford is living a no matter what lifestyle.
Well,
Now,
that's
this
always
radio
been my
shows,
motto.
that's
My
a lot
faith
of other-
is greater
I'm
than
just
my
saying to
fear.
lady leaders, because lady leaders are out there as half the entrepreneurs. Go for your dreams, lady, and trust what April's teaching you, because she's living it. She's not teaching you to do it. She's doing it. So when you talk about this faith, talk about your own faith. You know, what was your faith to quit that high-paying job? Nobody would do that, to pursue your dreams. What was your faith to do that? Tell everybody.
You know what? My mantra and motto is that, and I know you've even heard me say this repeatedly. It's, my faith is greater than my fear, and I just know that my faith is greater than my fear. Like, no matter what, God will always take care of me. I'm not perfect by any means, and like I said, my dream was perfect, but maybe not in my execution. But it will all work out, and it is working out.
Let me tell you a day. The people that came to be trained by my father lived, if they were invited, and most weren't, to the times he would teach his children. And I can remember the hiker, because he liked to be in nature, Napoleon Hill, in his Ranger Dad outfit, in the morning, going up in the Sierra Mountains with a walking stick. And we arrived at two beautiful lakes that were separated by a little knoll. And they were both about the same size. They had the same amount of water, and they had little spillways. And he had blocked with rocks the two spillways. And he sat down as the sun came up. We had our breakfast. We had backpacked in the 50s. And while this was all going on, he's telling us as the sun strikes these lakes that there are two lakes, and this will help all of you. There's two lakes in your life. One is the lake of fear, and one is the lake of courage. And as he undid the rocks, the water just gushed out and started flowing down into this river that wound down in the Sierra pine needles and the granite rocks. And it just was perpetually fed by the spring and was coming out now that he had uncorked it. And he said, what happened here is that the movement of one lake or the other will control your life. And what makes it move is one drop that's greater than the other lake. If you have one drop of fear greater than your courage, then the fear will immobilize all your choices, options, and futures. If you have one drop of courage greater than your fear, all of your manifestations will come because of that faith that you had. And I remember eating breakfast with Napoleon Hill on a granite rock in the pine trees, taking away this breakfast sandwich before we had McDonald's and things that Dad had made. And he looked over and he goes, Alan, you just taught the whole applied faith lesson, a couple stones, and the sound of running water. And he went back to eating. And I didn't know what the hell he was talking about for 25 years.
Well, don't you think those are the two main challenges when it comes to faith? You mentioned fear, and then we'll get into the definiteness of purpose in a minute. But, I've learned that fear and faith basically are on the same axis, because faith is something you can't see, but you believe, it will happen. And fear is something you can't see, but you hope it doesn't happen.
God, if I could force everybody to just read 3 Feet from Gold and No Matter What. I just put a shotgun to your neck and duct tape it there and march you into getting married to your future, your better future. Because what you have to get into your life is when you have a fear storm washing over you, you will always have fear when you challenge yourself to new horizons. So get that sentence. You will always have fear storms when you challenge yourself to new horizons. And the wind and the storms and the lightning always make fresh flowers on the other side. Everything's greener, everything's brighter, everything's more alive right after the storm passes. And so I want you to realize they're refreshing elements. And when you have fear storms on you, follow my dad's lesson. When in doubt, do nothing. Just wait for it to pass. Tap yourself in your heart, which is your bigger intelligence, 3 times in your chest whenever you want its participation. What do you think? What do you say? But when you tap it and you're in a fear storm, I want you to tap your heart and say, it's just a passing energy. It's a passing energy.
Wow.
The pain of your divorce, your unforgivables, the passing of your husband, they're passing energies that teach you to be stronger, teach you to be compassionate with others, make you have more love, not less love. So everything is wonderful lesson, and fear storms are simply to test your faith, to test that you have no matter what. You have 3 feet from gold. You won't punk out like most spirits do. You will hold your faith in the face of the fear storm and let nothing stop you from putting one foot in front of the other. And at the end, you have what no one else gets, which is your dreams. And your dreams, let me tell you, are the most important thing of your lifetime. And even when you do your dreams ahead of your children, April, you're teaching those wonderful kids to do their dreams because they're watching mommy do them.
Right.
You're switched on and they're switched on because they love most, even if they don't get all the time they want with you, that you've shown them that their dreams are the most important thing in their life. Their mommy's shown them that. There's nothing you can give them other than their values that's greater than that one thing. So always remember, as you go pursue your dreams, you're teaching all those in your life that your dreams are the most important thing. That's the maypole, the plant in the ground of your faith, that your dreams are the most important thing. And everything else in life, everything, is ribbons that go around that maypole, which is unshakable. Unshakable.
Right. I agree. Now let's talk about the other challenge with faith. Hill talks about definiteness of purpose, because when you have a definiteness of purpose, it's a starting point to exercise your faith. But what about those who don't, maybe they're not in a position to know their purpose yet? Wouldn't that present a challenge of exercising their faith?
No, because their main faith is that they get their purpose. When you don't have your purpose, ask for it from the other side and meditate daily. And meditate the type of life you'd have, etc. You don't have to know the details about how it all comes to you, because it will be provided to you. It will shape up. And I've watched this for 40 years in human potential work. It always shapes up if you're consistent. So what is the most important thing you have? That you're made in the image and likeness of the divine power. What is that? First, it is your co-creation. You can create like your parent. That's the biggest gift a parent could give you. Second, it's in your DNA. Your DNA with God is you can create. Second is your attention. Where you place your attention. If you place it on moving a mountain, you'll move a mountain. Where is your attention? And your attention is like a fire hose for most of you because you haven't been trained. And so it's like 5 yellow guys in slicks are trying to hold it down, and it's raising them off the ground, and it's going all over. You're like movie Goofy and Disney with your life because your attention is like, Yahoo! And you're just screaming through life with this, that, incoming, all of that sort of thing. And there's simple things we do. For instance, I take mail and put it in a Friday box. I know I'm not going to win the lotto. There's only bills in there. And I don't let it control my time. I don't open it. And it controls emotions, it controls answers and reaction. When I read email, I'm on a digital diet. I read email sparingly, and I read it where I'm going through just what's important, and I don't open jokes, videos, frivolous stuff. I really am careful in what I say and do, and I get off, because the most important thing in building my futures and what I do in the world is relationship. And I'm working, as you said, in the Beltway every single day with legislation and influence and policy that affects the world. And as we do that, that's where my attention is placed. I'm not allowing people to dictate where my attention goes because of an incoming text message, a cell phone. And here's a line that Napoleon Hill, I know, would give you today. Go on a digital diet.
A digital
Put your faith out. Give me my life's purpose so I have absolute certainty. And then meditate on that. You will get that. It'll hit you like a lightning bolt because you asked. And so I have absolute faith that when you get it, it will come true and you will do it. And then begin those things that prepare the bed for your roses. Get the best mentors in that space. Get mentored.
Wow.
Mentors, if you get a coach, they make $100,000 a year. You can never get your income over their income. They can't do it. Mentors make millions. Coaches do not. And one of the things that reinforces your faith is your coach believes in you more than you believe in yourself. Look
Right.
at Lisa Nichols, the multi-millionaire. She learned about faith. She learned about no matter what. Then she wrote the book on it. And you can see it in her short film at ceospace.net. Just look at it. There's a lot of free stuff there. And look at her say, I didn't see what my mentors were seeing for me. And eventually I grew into their vision for my life. It's what I wanted to do, but what was she? She was afraid. She had fears to it. And she learned that one drop of courage over your fear. And she lives it now. She teaches it to others. She's affecting millions now. She's on the big tours with Donald Trump and the world leaders. This little girl from Watts is sought after in 15 countries. I'm so proud of her.
Right. And I think it goes back to what you said. It's just that you start off with a teardrop of courage, then another teardrop. If you have to borrow somebody else's belief or faith through your mentor or your coach or reading
Well,
Napoleon
I want to change the
Hill's
world. I couldn't do it with the Army. I've got a board of directors that is like the former merger acquisition partner for Arthur Young, the Harry Lay who built all the Walmart
Yes,
stores,
Harry.
Ed Bogle who's on the advisory committee for Conoco Oil and many others. Aaron Young, who's the head of the largest incorporating company in the nation, Laughlin USA, the oldest one. And I'm saying these guys believe in me and the vision on days where I might be in a valley, and they say, nope, it's all going to happen. You're going to do every bit of it. We're here because of that vision. And
Right.
once you get some mentors around you, they are throwing little rocks at the window and making you come out to play.
Right,
You don't believe in yourself. They're out there saying,
They
come
are.
out. We're going to do it. We're going to do it today. You've got to put people around you because you will have peaks and valleys, but your mentors walk you through your valley
Yes.
and return you to your peaks. So faith is something you have to renew. Faith is a renewable resource. Every dawn is a new day to proclaim your faith. And every twilight, when the sun kisses the day goodbye, look up and say thank you and have a gratitude for everything that day.
That day.
Forgive everything and love everything. And for those that have unforgivables, just unforgivables, remember your unforgivables are because the spirit that is hurting you is too ignorant spiritually to understand how much you love them.
Wow.
So just release that. They can't get that training and education. Just forgive them and then turn around and get the opposite of the spirit that is your mirror of company, companionship, loyalty, and is there to give you the buoyancy that you were missing, because you really can have perfection. I wrote the book, Perfection Can Be Had. To put my father's stories to his children in a book, they're going to make a movie out of it. But in Perfection Can Be Had, what you learn is, man, it is so important that you have this little self-imposed circle and that you hold gratitude for everything. Forgive everything, hold gratitude for everything, and that is the door that lets faith in.
Yes, I think more people need to exercise gratitude in contrasting situations, I call them. There's a bright and the dark, but people tend to only see gratitude when the light is out, when they need to really see and appreciate the darkness that sometimes our valley or circumstances bring us. That's what real gratitude is.
And it was a conference of thought leaders, and all the religious leaders were there, and it was an ecumenical conference in San Francisco, and all the Christian faiths were there, and they were all fighting like crazy. There were some rabbis and their Eastern sect, and all the different sects were there. And there was a pause in the fighting between them all because they were all trying to come together. And they were asking, Father, how, if Christianity was the way, could, with all this fighting, it be the example? And he had this big smile before the break. And it's the first time, because I was a very young boy, 7 years old, and I had never seen, I was on a back counter, 5,000 people there, couldn't even see over their heads, the dad way up front. They didn't have stage lighting like they have now. And it was the first time I saw a standing ovation of 5,000 people for Dad. But before the break, he looked at them all in those old mics they used to have and just stared at everybody with this beaming smile, pin to the drop. And he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Christianity, great idea, never been tried."
Wow.
And he eventually got a standing ovation, first one clap and then another. I didn't understand that for 30 years either, but what he was trying to tell us was, you know,
Apply it.
if we're Christians or any faith, we've got to forgive everything and hold gratitude at all times.
Right.
Everything that comes to us in life is a great lesson, good or bad. Find the lesson in it. Find the better. I just had a man, as you know him, Paul Lindbergh, who lost his beloved Rhonda Anderson.
Oh, yes.
Great girl, making $1 million a year, in her 30s, just top performer, just at the top of life, and just everything you could ever want. And she passed from an extreme oncology position, surprisingly. And he was with me crying at the program you were at from Napoleon Hill just last week. And I was at the, Greg Reed's wonderful secret knock. Mm-hmm. And as we were in the side room and he was crying in my arms, I said, "Paul, find the reason she chose right when she did to leave. She's given you all these gifts. And the final one was when she left. She taught you compassion. She taught you how you loved her, and you loved her, as I've told you, like a bucket full of water, that if you touched it with your pinky, it would just start overflowing because it was over the top, being held by tension. But when she left, the Lord God picked your bucket up so full of love and threw it in the Pacific Ocean. You have a much bigger vessel now, Paul, and a lot more water. Find the gift of why she chose right then, because you don't know. Ask yourself the right question, and you'll get the right answer."
You'll get the right answer.
And he really was grateful. He left that room saying, "I hadn't even thought of that angle, and I'm going to now think of that angle." And he said, "It's so hard because I've got her picture up in my room. And I've got her hand on my heart. She was my goddess, my dream girl. I finally found her. We're getting married, and she leaves." And I said, "Paul," and I'm holding it. And I said, "Paul, man to man," I said, "there's some other people in your life now, and we all have our hand on your heart. My hand's on your heart. There's two on your heart. Keep that picture up. Look at it every day. And remember how many hands are on your heart." And I said, "Don't ever throw that picture away and always keep it, because she taught you how important it is to have a hand on your heart at all, because you didn't know how important that is. Now, that's what you treasure. That's your gold."
Gift. Right.
I said, "Do you see that?" And it became his treasure, and he's looking at that picture every day now with a different point of view. That renewed his faith. That gave him, a man who was shaken by this death just a bit ago, that gave him, at that point in time, applied faith. He had a new way to look at applied faith, didn't he?
Right. Right. And I think that's, one of Hill's principles, and not only having the faith, but putting it into action. And you touched on that. You know your definiteness of purpose. You affirm it through prayer and meditation. You associate yourself with those who believe in you, in your purpose, and who have a bigger
I really
belief.
think something's lost. He wrote it, but he really wanted you to live it. You need to meditate. And he would say 3 to 5 minutes a day, and 15 is masterhood. Every day. Quiet, nothing else, just you. Quiet. Go to the quiet, still place. Say to yourself, "Be still, for I am God." Not you, but the God you worship. Be still and be with God. Be still, for I am God. You're commanding your soul to be still, and it will be. You're using God to do it. Be still, for I am God. You wish to hear your God in your faith. And just say, "Be still, for I am God." And just meditate around a pool with a fountain where you can hear water noise. Someplace where you can see nature, because that tree, that palm tree, that blade of grass, that rose bush, all of God is in that one plant. All of creation is in that one place. And put all your burdens over to it. Transfer it to something green, Say, take it over from me. It's too heavy. You take it. Because you represent God in all your creation, because you couldn't exist without God loving you. God made you, not me. And so you just love that, and meditate, be quiet, and then ask in your faith for your manifestation to occur. And what you need will be provided to you. But if you do it every day, that becomes more important than anything else. Get a digital diet going. Do you know how much time you have? Do you think you're going to get on your hospital bed and in your applied faith, pull yourself off the hospital bed, pull yourself up and say, Lord, I know I'm going tomorrow and I'm going to die tomorrow. The doctors told me. But if I could have a little more time, Lord, just a little more. I have some text messages to answer. I've got some Facebook postings I've got to do, and 2 LinkedIn I've got to put up, and I've got 4 Pinterest postings I want to do before I go. You have to be kidding me.
Right.
Go on a digital diet. First rule he would write if he were alive today. Go on a digital diet.
Wow, I'm going to have to apply that as well. I wish we had more time, Bernie, but in closing, again, I appreciate your time on Journey to Success. I know our listeners out there got tons of pearls of wisdom from you. If you want to share your website and any other closing remarks to leave us with.
Well, it's ceospace.net, and there are videos for everybody, and I would look at a video or two on ceospace.net, and it'll change your income and change your life and reinforce everything you're going to in these programs, and April will tell you that. But more important, I ask you to do this, which is I ask you to have advanced faith where you reconnect in relationship. The most important ship you ever sail on is your relationship. Every problem you have between couples, every problem in parenting, and every problem in the workspace, every problem politically, every problem is competition versus cooperation, and we proved it. My book, if you want to read it, Redemption, The Cooperation Revolution, get it from Amazon, Redemption, is a big read. It's for world leaders, and it is the cooperation revolution. But what I want you to do is the first relationship, the most important relationship that brings the cooperation. On the other side, there's no competition. You don't pop out of your body as an orb of light and get up there and say, but wait, I had a Beamer. Wait, I had a Georgetown credential. Wait a minute, I had this kind of address. No one cares. Everybody just loves each other. There's unconditional love, unconditional support. If that's the other side, why don't we have it over here? There's no competition there. Why do we have it here? Or what does that tell you? So what I ask you to do is to have your first relationship with your higher power. If you haven't done that in a while, get back to it. Napoleon Hill required it of you. And get humble and get in service to others. What you want is your life to matter to a maximum number of people. And you want your applied faith to make sure that your life matters to the maximum number of us. And trust me, if you hold that thought with non-attachment to anything that has to do with consequence, the accumulation, the law of accumulation in your services will make you so wealthy, the only thing you're going to increase is your tithing. So help me God. And I hope that's your faith for now and for tomorrow and for everyone you touch in your life. You master what you teach. So go out and teach, think, and grow rich, and do it by example.
Right. Right. All right, Journey to Success listeners, that's our show today with Bernie Dorman. Until next time, I'm April J. Ford, and remember, your faith has to be greater than your fear. Bye for now, everyone, and be well.